Hey everybody, welcome back to another all-new X's for Show, your premier media response show. You can find us as a show at X's for Show, record times I've said show. As for me, I'm Nico Action. You can check me out at NICOACTION.
Hi, I'm Jonah. You can follow me places at Peak Jonah. It's P-E-A-K.
And I'm TK. You can find me at TK Elemental.
I'm Tori. You can find me at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I.
And that makes me your producer, Kevo. You can find me at Kevo Really. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment to let us know what you want us to cover in the future. But today we are going to be covering some All-Stars. We're getting some roasts a cooking.
And just like Bob, we are back with a ton more to say. That is right, none other than Bob the Drag Queen stopped by as we proudly displayed on our cover image. Did not stop by here, no. Bob stopped by the show. Not our show, the show. But I also want to say that we got a bunch of fun stuff we're going to talk about. Some of the really cool Pride events going on that we've been to in the last couple of months. Can't wait to get into all of that. But I want to start this conversation off with, it's interesting that the girls are being told to be mean for charity. I love this because it's sort of like, if you're going to have iced tea, throw it in somebody's face. Like, there's something really fun about it. Because one of the things that I definitely caught was the amount of, no, it's okay to be shady. It's for charity. And, it's for charity.
No, this show doesn't know what it wants.
Yeah.
We have known, I feel like for me, I have known ever since Gia Gunn showed up on All-Stars and started talking about poking pheromone specifically because it would make good TV, that like there is an extent to which this whole ecosystem can't give a shit. No matter what happens, at a certain point it has to be, we had this fight for TV and because everybody enjoyed it. Sure, whatever, that's fine. We get to this particular season of All-Stars, and I know we're still living in that thing. I know we are still living in, sometimes the girls are going to show up and be smart enough to know that the thing that makes good TV is making good TV.
That's the magic of Plain Jane in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that is the magic of Plain Jane, who I am going to sign off from this broadcast and go see at the State Theater in Portland, Maine. I actually don't really know what we're getting into. I have no idea.
Burger Finger.
It is a real Burger Finger moment.
Won't make any sense, but
they closed the Five Guys, the other place that serves really good burgers. I have not actually taken.
Henny Wendy is going to be there. She's also a fast food Northeast performer.
I don't know what's going to happen, but
yeah.
I understand that we have to have drama. It's really tough when we know all of the Drag Race wants us to have it both ways, but they're not prepared to take responsibility for the fact that they gave it to us like this.
Well, and I want to take that and I want to run with it. Tori, you are the both ways queen. You are I meant because like you are currently in drag and so you're winning. Whereas the rest of us,
Tori constantly shows us all up. I am about to fight her.
Truly.
Stand up.
I love you. I love you so much.
Stand up.
I also am very annoyed with the fact that you are always looking better than everybody here. Your looks are more conceptual. You are showing me up. I don't appreciate that. How dare you? And a lot since then.
Michelle, I'm going to pass it to Ross for a second. Ross, so.
You froze on me.
Oh, he's frozen, but I do love it both ways. I am bisexual. However, no, I'm the person who says, why are we competing? Why don't we just let the girls do 12 weeks of showing off, and then at the end we just go, thank you.
No, we have to compete.
No.
Yes.
Competition is fun. But to what TK is saying, yes, some people do go into TV knowing that I'm going to go in and make good TV. You have your Plain Janes, your Candy Muses, the people who understand that reality TV, first and foremost, is entertainment. And one of the ways you entertain is fighting.
Jonah, do you buy all that Candy Muse on Maddie Marfus's podcast where she talks about... Do you buy that?
To a degree, I do.
Yeah.
Because I, in a similar fashion to what Candy Muse was talking about on Give It To Me Straight, was I also grew up watching a lot of trashy reality television with my mother. And it made me the man I am today, and it made her the woman that she is today. So kudos to her for watching. I watched a lot of Real Housewives. I watched a lot of Real Housewives and a lot of Jersey shows. Point being, there. However, or Gia isn't, like you said, Gia is another one who kind of makes really good TV moments because she doesn't really care, and she kind of just says whatever she wants to say, and it's very hateful most of the time, and it's hysterical, even though she's a person. I had to phrase it that way, but there also has to be elements of it making sense story-wise. Candy is an explosive person. That all makes sense. Plain Jane, from the way that she was growing up, is a little more blunt and can be read a certain way. And that's hopefully not spoiling too much about, future people you will meet, Tori. And Gia just knows how to make good TV and knows how to make a moment and a meal out of it.
That is the weirdest advertisement for Chopped I've ever seen.
It's not for me.
Yeah, no, I think it is.
Also, this is the first time they said Ruby Snippers. I hadn't caught that until this week.
Yeah.
Cute.
But the problem that I think I'm seeing some people have, and maybe I'm also sharing with for this season, is we're not getting the entire story. Like this episode, it felt a little weird in a way of like the queens being like, we don't really like Angeria. And it felt almost out of nowhere because we're not really seeing any of that. Nothing that Angeria has done has ever given the audience the impression that she's rubbing the girls the wrong way in a certain regard.
They're treating her like she is full on Lucy LaDuca when we all know that she is 1000% that Sasha Colby.
Come on, guys. Come on.
What? No. And I'm not.
Come on.
Well, hold on.
No. I mean, like, come on.
Oh yeah. They come to the girls. It was just. I understand that because there's not the stakes. A lot of time people have been talking about the stakes because this is for charity and nobody's going home. A lot of the stakes are removed because outside of you winning as much money as you can, there really isn't an incentive to be cutthroat and competitive. Because even though we're seeing it, it only felt weird about Georgia saying, "Well, you think you're going to win every week." When she could outside of the ball, Angeria could have won every single week. Honestly, multiple of them could have won multiple different weeks. So it just feels it's a interesting conundrum that we're getting a rules for thee but not for me, with Angeria is facing this level of scrutiny that doesn't make sense with what we're being shown. If that makes sense, I feel like the editors are having a tough time finding their little tidbits, the little juicy moments of drama.
Talk about it. Come on. I mean, like, we're all in the same position right now.
Well, and I want to say that part of what makes me a little frustrated is that I'm here to say that Roxxxy is the nice version of Roxxxy now. I love soft, gentle Roxxxy, and I think she's really grown up. And I used to think that you couldn't say that Roxxxy was dark-hearted because she didn't have a heart. And now she does, but sometimes it gets real fickle real fast. And I've been having this conversation with people lately where you don't need to say something shitty and shady to be shitty and shady. And that's sort of how I felt about Plastique being like, Plastique isn't shady. No, I see the looks you give the other girls. Plastique is shady as shit. She's just not wordsy about it. And something I think Roxxxy is trying to get away with in this iteration of Roxxxy, the character, not the human being who is a real person. But one of the things that this character iteration of Roxxxy is trying to get away with is being like, I'm nice now. You're beautiful. And it's not really translating. And So when she's like, no one's coming for Angeria, I'm like, no, you're all side-eyeing this incredibly talented finalist.
So wait, hold on. Real talk. Do you feel like Roxxxy was at Angeria to cut and only didn't do it because she heard the other girl's
Reaction.
response?
I think she thought it was a gag. I think she thought it was...
Answer my question real talk.
I think she thought stopping at Angeria was a gag.
Okay, so you don't think she was ever going to cut Angeria? She was tricking with the stop.
I think she might have. I think she meant it as a joke.
Okay.
And if everyone had been like, oh my God, that's so wild, do it. I think she would have been like, well, then snip, snip, you ugly bitch. And instead, she was kind of like, oh my God, no. And like, that's the thing. I love Roxxxy. I might be the biggest like Roxxxy.
You're a totally big
Roxxxy. This is a 180 from last week. Just so we're clear.
Yeah, I mean, like
this is a 180 where I get shouted down for my Roxxxy heresy, and suddenly everyone's on Tori's side.
Your feeling is always safe, and I think it is always the next episode always helps us elucidate.
Yes.
Nico, do you feel like at this point you feel as though Roxxxy was being strategic or she was being totally emotional?
I think that Roxxxy Andrews is... Okay, you're going to be the only person that gets this, unfortunately, on the panel. But if we're talking about all of these drag queens are really Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Come on.
If they are all really this two-person identity, I think Roxxxy is always operating as Zur-En-Arr. I think she is always just strategy. She is always just the best parts of gameplay. She's a real person, but she's in it for the charity. She's in it to win money for a health center in Florida, and that requires strategy. Nobody on Jeopardy gets answers wrong because they want the other people to feel good. And I think that's the way Roxxxy is treating it. Why is she going to stop being so fucking good at Drag Race? Because your ass can't do it. But it sometimes winds up making her look a little bit like if Ken Jennings made bullying piss comments, and like that's what's tough.
Yeah, I get that.
They have a different Jeopardy contestant for that.
Oh yeah, the funny guy. I love him.
Yeah,
oh my God, great. I love TikToks of him.
To me, I have always said that Roxxxy showed up under the guise of charity so it could let her dominate while still pretending to be nice. I think Roxxxy panicked a little more than she should have. I think she was kind of struck by the emotion of like, I really like all these girls. They're all very talented. I don't really want to be the bad person. And then tried to pull it back and panicked that maybe she didn't pull it back enough because it doesn't seem to have tricked the girls. And if it didn't trick the girls, it can't trick the fans. And then she's still just...
So wait, hold on.
The problem is there's a trans person who can see through all lies here.
Hold on. Is this a case of Tori being too real and Nico not being real enough?
I think there's a reality that is...
It's in the middle. I know it is.
Well, it's like,
that's no, kind of what I'm trying to get at, but I want you guys to get me there. Like,
I think
because you're Nico, I feel like you're being very sweet towards Roxxxy, and I know part of that is because you love Roxxxy.
Well, it's also partially that I feel like I see a lot of talking about these girls like they are literal tarmac meant to be run over, and so like, generally want to be kind. But the thing about it that I'm specifically feeling in this instance is Roxxxy is used to people playing Roxxxy games because Roxxxy is a superstar, and Gottmik is used to playing Gottmik games because Gottmik is a superstar. So what happens when the agent and the manager are both involved?
Well, and this episode really did ask that question at the beginning because it really did say, Roxxxy really bought into it saying, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know who I was asking for. And there's a whole other question where it was like she was going to stop on Angeria, and they literally say, like, it seemed like you heard us saying don't stop on Angeria, and you kept going. And she stepped on Gottmik. She stopped on Gottmik. She ended there. Gottmik allowed it to happen. I mean, we're really getting into this like subtleties of where one stops, what one does.
It really is.
Among this group, does that mean anything? Like,
I think, number one, everybody should. I know the man is currently dressed in an apron, but he is raising an important question.
They don't know that yet.
Listen, this is Pride Week in my hometown. I went from the park where we were doing everything Pride related.
Do you hear that? Gays do things that they're proud of in parks.
Yes, truly. Plain Jane is going to our local. I don't know. It's been
watering.
It's been a wild weekend.
Well, but so the man is wise, and I do think part of what we're asking here is, what is the ethics and efficacy when it comes to playing this game with these girls? Because it does bring me to the actual challenge of the week, and I can't wait to ask the question of who wore it better, Nikki Glazer or Gottmik, and we're going to get into that.
Oh, God.
But
oh, God.
I do want to start with this impaneling down below. I actually love this game. I love this game because it's essentially a group newlywed game, and it's a lot of fun. And one of the things that this group newlywed game does every goddamn time is that thing from Brooklyn. Nobody can cheat at the newlywed game. But
I think we have to deal with. We haven't finished talking about the end of last episode, though.
But I think we're going to be talking about it forever, and I want to make sure that you can go to your next event.
I know, but I really do want to I want to capstone. It's you and Tori. I really do want to capstone. Do you guys feel like what is the end of the last challenge? What is the end of Roxxxy winning and having to do this cut? Are you comfortable with where we ended up?
Yes, because Angeria gets the win.
Yeah, yes, she does. She does.
It makes it all a big manipulation game. And that's how I felt about giving a badge during this mini challenge.
Yes.
I feel like somebody in the production, this is why I keep saying the agents. I don't mean to be nuts, but I am telling you right now, somebody called their agent to find out some dates and said, by the way, I wasn't treated very nicely, and made some calls to production who said, for a company called Wow, you sure get surprised a lot. And it's absurd. Tori, please, by all means.
Tori, I was going to say, Tori, Jonah, and Kevo. Are we all kind of, can we move on from here?
Yeah, I'm, as someone who is currently in the middle of season 15 and then also gets to watch Bianca do Pit Stop, I am currently very firmly of the opinion that if you're gonna start something, own up to it. And don't be like, well, no, what I really meant was.
What are you talking about right now, Tori?
Who's
starting
I'm just
something?
saying. I'm saying Roxxxy. I'm saying if you're gonna be shady, if you're gonna, if you do know what you were doing, if Roxxxy did stop behind Angeria to test the waters, own up to it. Don't pull these crocodile tears nonsense and pull it. So I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm hoping she falls closer to Nico's opinion of her. I don't know.
Kevo and Jonah. Kevo, I see your mouth open. Let's go.
To a degree, they were crocodile tears in that Roxxxy is just a very dramatic person. I think a lot of what Nico is saying is probably true because I think there is an over-under on this. I think Roxxxy came across as too clueless based on what she did. And if she was clever enough, it would have been a better plan and she would have played it better. I think, all of this can just be very emotional and overwhelming at times. It's not exactly traitors, but we've seen how people react on that show where they literally go home because all of this can just be really intense.
I'm going to give you grace and go home and start a family.
I think, unfortunately, reactions that you see, even on this season where no one is going home, really explain these reactions. Gottmik was like, I'm going to get you for this. It actually was good math. Gottmik to give you the cut, and yet even when we decide yes we're going to go just by good math and fairness, someone's spiteful. So it's really tough. And I'd like to agree mostly with Nico that if it was stopping on Angeria on purpose, it was as a joke. But I mostly just think the going back and forth antics are getting ridiculous. Angeria's antics today were ridiculous. Just pick someone and move on. And I know I'm saying that as an armchair drag queen who's not standing on that stage with the ruby snippers. But like, you make this giant meal out of it. You make it so much more dramatic than it has to be. And you're doing it for good television. And that's the reason you're doing it. And we have to acknowledge that. And I think it is only as personal as people continue to make it.
I just also don't think it's good television.
All right.
If we can see through it, it's not good television.
Yes, it
Jonah?
can explore it times and find something new.
Jonah, are you on the same page?
Listen, I'm ready to move on in the sense of like it happened last week.
Changing.
Are
floors.
we just tired of this as a group?
A little in the sense
It's
that
behavior.
truthfully, the only person that can really know what was going on there was Roxxxy. Roxxxy is the only person who is in Roxy's head. The only thing that we saw a glimpse was she got very upset at the idea of if she actually snipped Angeria again, it would come across a certain way. I don't think she was upset about the perception of the fans or like that. I think she was actually more upset at, hey, this going to come across a way I don't want it to come across. Yes, you can call it strategy, but it's going to come across almost unnecessarily cruel to block someone 3 times by episode 5, which is insane. I think it was just a lot of emotions. Do I know if she actually knew where she was? No, I don't know what to fully believe. More so at the end of the day, I think somebody had a human moment on a stage, and I hear what they say. I hear about making it a meal. Part of it is one, that's drag, making a meal out of literally scraps, crumbs, anything. Also, they're also I think encouraged to be playful, be goofy, be shady, be whatever as you're going down making your selection, giving them plenty to work with. But truly, I do think it resolved in the way it should have. Mick had the most challengements at that point. It makes sense, and outside of Roxxxy, but Roxxxy can't. I did actually think she was going to snip herself. Actually, when I thought there was only 8 episodes, I was like, oh yeah, that would make sense.
That would be interesting. That I would be interested in.
But
where does this take us in? We get this whole setup, and then we have to do a comedy challenge.
Well, I mean, part of what even had my attention was before the comedy challenge, clearly production was playing some games and some angles. We talk a lot about how they pick the things they pick to kind of like needle the girls a little bit, because that's how you make TV.
Yeah.
And I could not help but notice that if the producers know how the girls are going to react to these sorts of voting games, they picked 3 answers that painted Roxxxy as a target, and they managed to pick an answer that
Hold
made...
on. What are the 3 answers that you're talking about?
Win America's heart with her big juicy ass, meaning she's the body.
Yep.
Deny the outcome of All Stars 9, meaning that she's a front runner who's never going to take somebody else's win seriously.
Yep.
And Secretary of Shade, she's the meanest bitch.
Yep.
Shadiest, yes.
Yep.
And so she won 3 superlatives that paint her a target. I think Angeria winning Secretary of Delusion. Look, Mistress Isabel Brooks.
No, I mean, it was so clear that they all knew why Angeria was delusional.
I'm not going to tell you how to use Google.
They just didn't share it with us. Like, this was such a weird one where we like kind of vaguely got it, but they all were kind of saying like, you go into these things with a little bit of that confidence delusion. I mean, this is the most Nico action thing you can have, where you are just kind of like chilling with your greatness. Like it's, and they even nobody like they say at one point, I think it's George's is like, you talk about it like you're going to be lip syncing to win. And that's actually a really great thing. Like, you should be prepared to show up to the lip sync. If the lip sync is complicated for the winner, like if it's a lip sync for a difficult song, you should know what you're going to do. If it's Fergalicious definition, you should know how you're going to do the lip sync.
Plastique, please take note and maybe do the rap next time.
I mean, yes. Like, the fact that Plastique was just like, I give up. Angeria is clearly going to do it. Like
Oh my
when
God.
you know, and I think it's such a funny thing. Like when it's a 90s rap song where the girl might just like shut down and somebody else is going to show up and do the rap. We all kind of know, like if you've been there through it, you all kind of know how to do the rap. I must confess, girl, yes, I'm gonna be your lover. Take chance,
like no other
on the dance floor, getting down. Yeah, I mean, like we all kind of know it, and so the fact that Plastique was just straight up like, I don't know, she's gonna do it. Like that's funny in and of itself, but it also shows if you are not prepared to show up, we do a little bit notice. Like
we notice if you are not prepared to punish in the name
giggle,
of doom.
We can giggle with it a little bit. It might be forgivable. You're Plastique. Yeah, you're hugging RuPaul. Okay, like we'll have a little bit of a laugh with it. But you also, this is not a hard rap to know. This is a German man not knowing how to rap American. Like you have no excuse for not knowing this rap.
Phonetics like it's Roxxxy.
And listen,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, that we are clued in slightly to, because Angeria asked, why did everybody vote for me? And we kind of understand why. We get the explanation, but at first nobody really wants to answer. But even then, I don't really understand it because she's not the only person to do that. Unless I'm mistaken and everybody else goes, I don't know, I guess it's probably not going to be me. It might be you, girl. We're not seeing that either. So I don't understand. It's just more of the storytelling from the editing isn't doing enough to fill us in. We can be told, sure, but you need to show us. Show us, don't say it. You kind of have to spoon feed us this kind of storyline because it doesn't seem to be making sense. Angeria is not the first or last person on this season alone to think, I'm probably going to win this challenge. Let me change it to go into the lip sync outfit. And she kind of even said it. What, should I just kind of sit back and not change and be like, I guess it's not going to be me? Like, why is her just being confident of, I think I'm going to win this challenge, somehow makes her more delusional than any other queen not doing it?
Nina was in a Christmas elf costume to lip sync last time, and we're like, yeah, no, Angeria is delusional if she keeps changing for these things.
And it's just a little weird. The storylines are just getting weird because it's not really making sense. But what does make sense is having a roast. Now, I will say the set dressing for this roast, great for a political year. I don't know if it really makes sense for a roast because they didn't really have to make it politically themed.
They're just not even trying.
Yeah, they were just like, what if we all just wear red, white, and blue? That sounds right.
Oh, TK, the things you're saying I'm sure are wonderful.
Jonah, you and I specifically talk about this as the people who have watched the most of this show throughout its years. Like, get into it a little bit about the fact that, like, we are yet again in an election year. Did they get it this time or did they not?
I hope if they do want to do another political challenge, because they do a political challenge every single year from every single election year.
Yes.
And
we don't have more time. Like we might get it. Yeah. I don't think it's the only thing is like a foreign show getting before the election, the actual US election hits. I don't think we have another time between All Stars and US Drag Race. So like, did they get it?
No.
Thank you.
No.
Yes.
But,
say it out loud. No, they didn't get it.
But they did bring the person to probably inspire people to vote the most in Bob
Who's
the Drag.
that? Bob the Drag Queen. Okay.
Bob,
who we're going to see. What's up, Bob?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see Bob.
But Bob is somebody, even on her own season, talking about the politics of drag, the politics of being queer. What does that mean? What does that mean for standing up? Bob has been arrested before in drag for protesting. Like, she's the queen of the people for a reason. You want somebody to give you political motivation. Bob's the person to do it. It was also kind of a shock to see her, only in the sense of like, did not expect this at all. I thought it was going to be wintergreen again, which would have been great. But I'm really happy that as funny as the poetry was, it still was just more serious and a much more serious note. And then Bob left.
Did this legit mean everything to our like base? Like Nico, Tori, Kevo, did this mean everything to you the way it did?
No, I thought this was a big clunk. Because there was okay, please explain to me how politics is randomly roasting each other. Like, where's the anything? Where is the reminder of our dreamers? Where's the reminder of the decriminalization of drugs like marijuana? Where is the discussion for prison reform, any of the things that any of these queens, defunding the police, any of the things they would talk about? No.
Access to gender affirming healthcare.
Please, thank you. The things I'm not thinking of that need to be mentioned. Instead, we had Georges come out and do some funny jokes. This was
Hold on, before we keep going, Tori
I
and
brought
Kevo,
it's the
are
charity.
you on the same page?
These are their charities. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree, Kevo. These are the charities, and one of the things that
that's not mentioned.
Oh,
where is that in the roast? Where is anything that promotes any of the activism that this is meant to be?
Yeah. Why
did anybody hold on? Did anybody for any of you get it? Like, did they nail it in any capacity? It's okay to say no. I'm just curious.
Well, was it supposed to be a political roast? Because I think
yes, Tori. Let's assume it was.
Oh, well then no, none of them got the assignment, but they were all very funny and I enjoyed it.
Yes, it was a funny roast, but with all of this bunting and with this squirrel friends drag sign, if the theme was political, no, they did not get it. Was it a good roast? Yeah, everyone did pretty good.
But also, like, Michelle and Ruda, yes, should have sent that. They went in, they did their little coaching sessions, and nobody said, "Hey, this is a political roast, bringing up the issues," you know?
That's why I said the set dressing felt weird, that if they wanted to do another political challenge for this, for the season that's airing before the election, it should have just been a proper political challenge like they normally do, whether it's a song, whether they're doing some kind of, even the parody of politics that they normally do, it's still getting people to talk about politics of like, what is this a parody of? What are you looking out for? What should your representatives actually look like? This was just a political setting, but it was a roast, and that's fine. It is what it is. It's just weird. At the end of the day, probably overall one of the more successful roasts in terms of just performances. Nobody did horrible. Everybody did good. And there were people here that I was maybe concerned with this kind of comedy, but nobody did bad. So props to all the girls. You all did wonderful. You all did amazing. Everybody should be proud of themselves for what they were able to accomplish for the challenge.
Well, and TK, I'd love to know how you felt about it since you raised the question in the first place.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, a big thing was I said to Nico, I don't think they wrote any of these jokes.
And
really?
They didn't.
I really did not feel like from Chanel, I could genuinely believe wrote her jokes. From Chanel onward, I do not feel as though anybody wrote their jokes.
I mean, and down to the fact that, like, literally people were like, this is line by line. And,
Nikki we're getting into... God, I hate to bring it up. It's already happening that people are pointing out that Got Mick fully... It's Nikki Glazer's jokes. Like, and listen, it is not shameful to steal jokes. It really, it's just not. It's okay. It happens. I just do not feel as though anybody wrote their own jokes.
So then what is...
Maybe Nina did. I don't know. I'm not gonna go so hard. I truly cannot identify it, but I have seen every season of Drag Race, basically every season of International Drag Race, it is very difficult to write a cohesive joke set. It is very difficult for everybody to write a cohesive joke set. It is insane for
Tori-
the entire cast of a show to write a cohesive, funny, it works for the whole show joke set.
Single
Go,
tone.
Nico.
I mean, I was going to say, because I completely agree. It's a single
Yeah,
tone.
no, I know you know. I'm just like,
And so, Tori, you were about to ask, and if your question is, then what is the point of critiquing the jokes?
Well, no, mine is. Well, then how can we trust that they ever write any jokes? That they
no,
ever
I
write
don't.
any of
I
anything?
literally, I have
So then
not
what's the
believed
point?
that anybody wrote a joke since Trinity
Well,
became
yeah.
Monet in season 6. I really haven't, because that was the thing. Somebody made the comment about season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race that Trinity did not write those jokes and that they were produced for her. And I'm not here to say that that is what happened or didn't happen, but it does start to draw into question the many times where it is just simply, if you are not uniquely a comedy person, it is very difficult to pull off what you pull off.
Well,
with
but
what
then why
sometimes happens in the show?
Well, then
Well,
why
and
do
I
the
already-
comedy? Go ahead, Kevo. You go first.
Well, because I know what your question is, and I get what you're asking, and it's like Nico said, sort of what's the point? But I feel like for me, what I'm feeling of hearing this is, and let me know if I am anywhere near base. You know,
Yeah.
so much of drag is about the performance.
Yeah.
And to me,
Lip
this is in a lot of ways, yes, exactly. It is sort of lip syncing the song. It is how well are you performing the song and the joke. Like, and if
Right.
you can't tell the joke funny, it's not always the joke. Sometimes it is you. It is always, almost always easy to make RuPaul laugh. And if you fail it, how much of it is on you and not on a really crappy Lazy Susan?
That is,
Still
Kevin,
laughing.
that is a really
So, yeah.
important set of questions. I don't have exactly the answer.
But here's my question. I have
Go.
another question, which
Go.
is, if we're willing to help the non-comedy queens with their comedy, why are we not willing to help the non-sewing queens with their non-sewing, the non-fashion queens with their fashion, the non-dancing queens with their non-dancing, the singing with the what
Tori,
is
I will say I'm not willing.
I think I have the answer, though.
And
What do you got?
I'm gonna let
got
you
this?
guys talk in just a second. I am not willing. I am very serious about comedy, and it annoys me when we get to a point where it is clear that extra work was done for a queen. And this is this whole episode for me. This whole episode to me feels like work was done for all of them to make this believable and tolerable to get through this whole roast where they all could be funny. And I could go into specific examples and be like, this queen clearly did not write their jokes, and this queen clearly had ideas and didn't. I won't do that. But this episode overall, I felt like they all got assistance. Now, that's okay. That happens. Let's shift over to Jonah and Nico, and let's just, in general, for all of us, talk about what happens on this show in general when people get assistance and help.
I want to say that there is a huge difference between having someone come in and sing your song for you, having
Do you have a
auto-tune.
specific example where you're saying that?
Well, I mean, like, I
Right.
think one of the things is that we specifically do give girls who can't sing a pass.
Yeah.
And we say every girl that can speak a song, it's fine. When
Yeah.
it's not.
They auto tune it.
Yeah. And
Rapping.
we make things work for people who don't have it, but this is All Stars. And All Stars girls have booking fees that need to be thought about. And something I cannot stop thinking about is no one is coming on this show to look like an idiot. So even the girls that aren't funny had to be assured when they came on, they weren't going to look stupid. And I think the girls in a normal episode, like a regular season, right? Like not like a cool season, like a regular season, those girls get what I'm going to call auto-tune help. But I think the girls in an all-star season basically get AI. I think someone comes in and says, you're a legend. We can't let you look stupid. And I think they put way more into these girls in all-stars because a brand is a brand. If you break a brand, you fucked up.
I don't want to be a dick, but was there anybody you felt like would have looked stupid if not for assistance?
I genuinely think most of them would have looked kind of dumb because absolutely nobody told jokes in their own voice. Everybody told jokes in the same acidic tone.
Yeah.
And that's like, this is going to sound like I'm saying something very stupid, but do you know what?
No, I fully agree. I'm not holding you accountable the same way I'm holding me accountable.
The SpongeBob musical is by 18 songwriters.
Yeah.
You can hear that is 18 songs.
Yes,
but
it's a sound, basically.
But when you think about a musical, it should all sound the same. A roast by 6 people or 8 people should sound like 8 goddamn songwriters. This sounded like one person writing one.
And it was specifically the person that showed up to do the poet laureate.
It was.
I mean, it really did feel like by the time we got halfway through, I really was like, oh, they only asked Bob here because Bob was already here doing work for everybody.
We obviously do not have any confirmation, but we're just kind of theorizing because it does come across a certain way where we have some people who didn't have the strongest background in comedy to do such an amazing set is okay. But granted, we do see, we don't know how much when they go do the things for Michelle and guest judge or insert comedian who helps them with their stuff. We don't know how much is actually like how long they're actually there critiquing them. Do they go through every single joke? Do they say, try this instead? A couple times they do that. A couple times they don't. I'm rather that they'll take the critique like we saw this episode. Gottmik still said gangbanged because Gottmik wanted to.
Jonah, did you respond to Ruta at all?
I did. I thought she was fantastic. She was.
Yeah. Did you like that? Did you like her guidance?
Yes, I thought she gave what I imagine is very old school, no nonsense. This is your one shot, kid. You make your break now, like, and it was very almost blunt in a way, but it was also very helpful. Like, no, that one didn't work. Didn't work.
I mean, I was joking earlier today that you are the youth coordinator. I was making a joke about texting somebody from Drag Race, and I said I'm going to wait for the youth person to text us. But I was really like, with Ruta, I was really curious because it is both. It's funny when there's an older person, but also like, is this anything? And I was kind of curious for a younger person to be like, do you respond to this at all?
I did. I personally did. I can't speak for all.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, obviously.
But
yeah, I was not aware of her. I mean, like once they were listing her, I was like, oh, yeah, this one.
Did you enjoy her presence on the show?
Yes, yes. It was like it's like when they bring on Cloris Leachman or Betty White. Like you're just getting an old school golden age lady who cusses like a sailor, but knows she shouldn't on camera. Like
Kevo and Nico, did you guys enjoy this person?
I've actually been doing the pictures and I didn't even realize they were not on.
There she is. Look at her with that little flag on.
Yeah. She was interesting. I think the most interesting thing about her was the fact that Nico said that she was in an episode of Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. I don't remember that, so that's really interesting. Yeah, she was fun. I'm not really sure how much she contributed, but yeah, she was cute. We've certainly had worse judges who contributed less.
And the worst thing you can say is she's a legend, and oh no, like I felt like some of the youngins have been a little too TikTok-y. And I mean,
did this Michelle look work for you?
I literally said out loud when it appeared on screen, I reject all other Michelle looks now forever.
She looks
I
great.
mean, like, this was such a Michelle look. They kept cutting to this.
It's a
It
serve.
was gorgeous.
Yeah,
Mother,
everybody
underpaid,
liked the
left no crumbs.
turban.
I mean, I definitely went a turban, but then I was like, damn, she looks good though.
Nico, that's you stand by that?
I think it looks great. I just think she looks magical and fun and cool.
I love it too. I'm always looking for Michelle to give me a little twist on Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there by her navel.
Yeah, that's where it ties it all together, if you will.
Hmm.
Michelle looks great. Rue looks great. Our guest judge looks great.
Gorgeous.
Carson looks great as well. And it was great to learn that his cheek implants were Michelle's
Tits.
used tits. Listen, we love people who are green. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Rihanna. The 4 R's. No
Medical
Rihanna
waste
here.
though. Medical waste.
Overall, I think I ultimately appreciated a much better challenge overall. I think because part of what we're talking about, I think ultimately at the end of the day, it is about the performance, it's about the talent, it's about whatever. Certain things might be a little bit easier to lend help to or not, but I do think you could be handed the best material in the entire world, but if you don't know how to deliver it, it's not going to be good. And regardless of if they did have a lot more help than was initially let on or not, I do think that everybody was a really strong night. I do think it is a little eyebrow raising of like, okay, everybody did good.
No, I'll say it. I fully feel like everyone from Chanel to Nina had help from a writer. I was shocked that some of these girls pulled off the material they did. Especially between Chanel and Nina, if those girls completely came up with this on their own, I am shocked. I will take the blame of somebody who doesn't buy it. I do not feel that they came up with all of this on their own. I feel like a writer came up with this for them. I love that they did. It doesn't negate that it takes a lot to get in front of a dais and deliver this. I will fully give you that it takes a lot to be an entertainer and deliver the lines. I simply do not feel that they all came up with this material on their own. I just don't.
It also all wasn't the right
Please.
material. It wasn't all roasting.
But then
baking.
Well, what
But
are
then-
you getting at there? Hold on, Tori, because I wanna come back to you.
Yeah.
Nico, what are you getting at there?
If you have an assignment and the assignment
Yeah.
is write a poem, and
Yeah.
instead what you do is you write a novella.
But
in
what are you
prose.
referring to?
I'm referring to the fact that most of them didn't do insults at each other. They actually just
Okay.
told some funny fucking jokes. And like
Okay.
a lot of them did observational humor about drag race. And like
Okay.
Jonah,
A
you
lot
said
of
it best.
clowns.
Okay, Tori,
Yeah.
what do you got?
Well, just Jonah, you said it best that it specifically was not all roasting. A lot of it was just good stand-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess for me, what are we watching? Then so if it's a political roast, quote unquote, why aren't the jokes that are written by production or some other infamous comedy drag queen politics related?
Thank you.
Why aren't they roast jokes?
Yep.
Like what are we getting from this? And for me, like this is another one of those moments where like one of the reasons why I was in theater was because I did not watch much of it beforehand, so I didn't have the ripping of the curtain away. Having
That's
now
the way
had
to
the curtain
go.
ripped away
Yes.
from this, I'm suddenly like, well, then why are we doing this? If we're just going to showcase, because that's the thing is like, you can say that drag queens lip sync because that's what they do out in the real world. Out in the real world, are you trying to tell me that all of the roasts are written by someone else? And if you're trying to tell me that and that is true, then that's fine. But then we can't be all like, when you get here.
So in a way, are you saying you kind of feel like the feebleness of some of these roasts would be more acceptable if they were written by the girls themselves? And if they were ghost written, then yeah, they actually should be a lot better.
Right. Like if either they should be roastier or they should be more political. So if they're written by production or another drag queen and they're not political, that means this was never a political roast to begin with. Yep. And B, that they don't care about the roastiness just as long as we laugh. So then why are we doing a roast? Why are we doing a political roast? Why are we doing this at all?
So I'm so curious, like, where do we end as a group?
Well, I want to talk for a moment about like people who say I'm a model, actress, singer, dancer, writer, mattress,
entrepreneur.
Well, I want to say right off the bat that I feel like everybody's was definitely pre-written.
And yeah, I mean, I really do think that that's, you know, beyond the pre-written, I think we give these girls these big, broad, huge labels that say you are 10 adjectives and 10 nouns.
Yeah.
And then they all have to be that every week because no one ever wants to hear some stars ever again. And so one of the things that I think that's fascinating is the place they're letting these girls flub it hard is fashion. The girls were given money in advance to spend however they wanted, evidently. And whether they spent that on the looks, they spent it on lessons, they spent it on working with writers, whatever they spent it on, they spent it on. But when you get here, whether or not you worked with a comedy writer, they're going to help you out. Whether or not you worked with a vocal coach, they're going to help you out. Fashion, they're going to let you look like a little teapot, Nina West.
I see that.
Statuesque.
So
getting their comedy looks. Talk about Sailor Moon for.
Yeah.
I normally like a very broad challenge, a broad prompt like Atomic Blonde, because it's a very similar to go back to talk about Gottmik, season 13, Little Black Dress. You can do whatever you want with it. It really allows the pushing the envelope of creativity. It did feel like they weren't told Atomic Blonde because a lot of the looks felt like in the same realm of like post-apocalyptic. I wonder if that was part of it. But not everybody did that, so I don't think it was.
I will say they always give, when they describe it, they go Atomic Blonde, blank, 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 blank. And it's always the subtweet always means a lot.
Yes, but a couple of these looks feel within the same realm.
Yeah,
and for a broad prompt like Atomic Blonde, where the only thing you have to wear is an Atomic Blonde wig.
Yeah,
it feels interesting that a lot of people went to the exact same references.
Well, that's why I mentioned the fact that like they constantly say when they describe them like Atomic Blonde, blank, 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 because I think they tell the girls something a little bit different than how they describe it, because the girls always show up with something in common, but something that weirdly wouldn't make sense to us as the listener who heard what RuPaul said on the episode.
Tori, what do you think about this situation? Because like I kind of agree with the guys. I think that if you look up here, there's 3 looks, 8 ways.
I was not to me, the 3 post-apocalyptic we're wearing furs thing were not terribly atomic to me, because I don't know a world in I don't.
Do you have something that you're looking for when they say atomic?
To me, Atomic Blonde is very 1950s or the retrofuturism or Afrofuturism or
it's
some
very
form
Miracle
of
Man.
Yeah, like it doesn't, like, to me saying, oh, you know, in a post-apocalyptic world, all of the animals will become our clothes, and I'm like, if you think the animals are living longer than us, that's so funny.
For real.
That's so funny.
Tori, did anybody meet that prompt for you of Atomic Blonde, like just based off of what you imagined it would be?
I think Georges did. I think Plastique did. I don't 100% understand what's going on with Vanjie's, but I like her hair, so I'm very happy. And Gottmik was atomic in the way that my mind went, because honestly, I think Gottmik doing drag is such a loss for the
Gottmik doing drag is entirely atomic in and of itself. But like Kevo, Nico, and Jonah, like, did anybody specifically for you? Because I also like the three of you know Atomic Blonde, like the specific reference of the.
Oh, is it a thing? Is it a band?
It's a comic.
It's a sci-fi property at this point.
Like,
well,
did any of you specifically respond to Atomic Blonde in this challenge?
I want to say that the biggest problem for me with this set of looks, Tori, vaguely cover your ears for 1 second, is that more and more George's is starting to look like the tattoo to Plain Jane's Fantasy Island.
Having her own journey that like
George's looks like Plain Jane more and more every week.
But George's is, like I said, George's is having her own journey that I'm glad we're talking about, and I don't think we should stop talking about, but it is weird.
I just also want to know why both Chanel and Chanel and Angeria decided to come dressed as everybody's least favorite mini golf putt-putt range.
Kevo.
Oh, but you're not including Roxxxy in that?
Do you know what I think makes Roxxxy's different? It's really ugly. And
I disagree.
Hold on. Okay. Well, I want to hear what Nico thinks makes Roxxxy's different. Then I want to hear what Jonah thinks, and then I want to hear what Kevo thinks.
The other two didn't do fashion. The other two just did fun. And Roxxxy can't get out of her own fucking fashion way. She's so beautiful. She's so hot. She's so sexy. It's sort of the opposite of my. I don't want to talk about this, and you're gonna yell. I don't want to do this. Yeah. It's the opposite of my problem with Lovers Deluxe.
Okay, we're gonna hold off on that. Hold on, from right there, Jonah and then Kevo.
For the most part, I think everybody looks great. Like I said, and I don't really think there's any full misses. I did think I'd see more futuristic, maybe a little more closer to like something like Barbarella. It's like that kind of silhouette, that kind of look. That's where I thought people would tend to go, but many of these queens did not, and I do love that for them.
Yeah. But then we saw three of them.
Yes, it is just fascinating that three.
Did you get tired of it?
No, because it kind of seems like they're like little collections outside of Gottmik and
whatever Vanjie's doing.
Honestly, I'd put Vanjie in the same collection as Plastique and Georges. It's very pink, very future, very trying to be very little more fashion forward. I see it as the same. I put it in the same collection, and then I put Chanel, Roxxxy, and Angeria in the same collection, and then Gottmik's just wearing something straight off, not the rack, something custom and gorgeous and beautiful. And then Nina looks campy and beautiful, and I think I want to take this very slight moment to just say, I think people have been having a lot of fun like dogging Nina, and I don't like just the fandom. And you don't have to root for her. You don't have to respond to her. You don't have to live for her. None of that. But it does feel like people are taking in some kind of glee in like taking a dump on her for
well, it's really, it is what they said in this episode is like, she has no edge to her. And she did kind of prove them wrong when she had to do the comedy challenge, and she did have an edge to her. But then they also said, we're not letting up. You have to have an edge in the fashion.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's 7 of them that are fashion girls, and they're all just picking on the fat theater nerd. And it's really gross because he's so handsome and he's so fun.
It's not gross. So it is a little bit like they told her, you can have an edge in the comedy. Like, if you can get there, you will succeed in the comedy. And she did. She really did. But it took everything. And she could not deliver in the fashion.
I just want to say really quick that I think that this is one of my least favorite Plastique looks of all time. It's cool.
What?
It's
no,
I liked it.
You're not allowed to say that.
I think she looks like the gay Daft Punk transformer that time forgot in Narnia. And I just don't get it. between the over-the-top makeup and the extreme number of tailpipes, girl, nobody needs that many holes except George's. And
I want to
Is
make
she
a
a 9
little.
again?
I want to make a little room because I asked
She has
Kevo
9
specifically
tails.
if he agreed with all of this, like in terms of the girls matching up to their humor. I
Kevo,
want to
just
I want to hear
swipe left
I want
to
to hear
right.
Kevo's response.
Yeah, I mean, I
Did
get.
they get there for you?
I see where all of the girls are in a style that is theirs. But like I feel like several minutes back the question had more specifically been about how do they meet the challenge and do they meet the challenge. And the thing that struck me about that is a lot of what Tori said I think I really agree with, and the one that it first hit me with and then it was just continuously after that was Roxxxy. And I was like, I don't see how this is Atomic Blonde. This is, you think it's post-apocalyptic something, and that's not the same thing as Atomic Blonde. It doesn't have to be the comic book or something like that, but like those are, there is something that evokes for me. Maybe Plastique is closer because I see where she's going for in that Furiosa thing. But again, that's a little bit more post-apocalyptic, and I am only giving it apocalyptic. I'm only giving it atomic because like machines.
Did
And,
anybody just like absolutely flop for you?
Flop? I don't know. It's more like, did anybody actually like nail it for
Get
me?
it.
Yeah, well
Yeah.
that's fine too.
I think it's more like, no, I don't know if anyone actually nailed it.
That
me.
is a
But
good
that is
measurement.
I
so
think
frequent with
Gottmik.
this show.
I think Gottmik could have, if we could have seen what her body makeup was doing, because I couldn't 100% understand what was up with it. I think it's that it's torn parts away so you can see the robot underneath, but it has to be bigger. It has to be bigger.
I do want to say it's very possible that the prompt they got was Atomic Wasteland Chic, wear a blonde wig, something along those lines.
Well, and that's why I keep
Yeah.
asking, like, did anything respond for anybody? Because I think that is exactly true. I think that they really could have gotten different prompts for what to show up for. And that's okay because we love them all so much and we're still having so much fun. I think after all of this, nobody is saying, again, like, this person just face planted.
No, everybody looks great on the runway. Who we should be blaming is RuPaul.
Yes.
RuPaul did not direct us properly.
Yeah.
Right, like,
well,
that's like-
and
and
she's
that
been
comes back-
giving us a lot of that this whole season. Like, you're just not brand ambassadoring a lot. Like, even, I mean, like, for me, I kept returning to Michelle because Michelle is making such a statement with this turban.
Oh, this ultimate Madame Xanadu look.
Yeah,
It is
like she
everything.
really, she's not
And then-
fucking around.
Like,
She
she
100%
has-
knows what she's giving, but it is also impossible not to say, like, you're giving, but you're also giving lame. Like, you're also
She's
giving.
also
It's pronounced
got
Lament.
her big turn coming up this summer as the main
Yeah.
host of Down Under. So like,
Yeah. Well, and you know,
Oh,
she's constantly giving us like head of the Addams family. Like, I hold
She was
Michelle
with
to a
her.
high standard.
the book from How to Succeed.
Yeah, I do hold Michelle to a high standard.
She's
and
from Jersey.
only
She's always
because
high.
like you don't fuck around with me. Like, if you're
Standard.
gonna show up as the second tier host of this show, I'm gonna constantly critique you too.
Tori,
and
what
it's
you
And
got?
Carson was also there.
Yeah.
I
Anyway.
just think that I still keep this whole conversation from the beginning to the top is about what do we trust that we know, and what does that say when if production is so involved, if so much is we told them one thing, they came with something, we called it something else to the audience, and the audience is judging, because you can't have a competition show without the audience judging. What are we being led to about these queens, especially when we know them? It's harder to catch that when we don't know them very well. But with these, we know who they are. Some of them we know very well. And it's one of those things where I'm like, well, now I don't know. I don't know if they could have provided something that would have been really exciting and really given me the Atomic Blonde if they weren't even told Atomic Blonde. So like,
Mm-hmm.
and
what were
then,
the prompts?
right, like if we're supposed to be kind of to comprehend what this competition is and grab it in our minds and hold it to ourselves and understand what lens RuPaul is trying to push this, camel through a needle. But we're not getting accurate information. How can we approve and agree with what we're shown?
And that's a big part of why I think the best way to think about it is drag has to grow beyond everybody's understanding of drag, because it exists outside of it. But everybody's understanding of drag has to grow outside of this show. Mm-hmm. And it really winds up being almost like reductive. I had the really wonderful opportunity to bring a hot older boyfriend to an event this week, and he got to see Sapphira Crystal, Monet X-Change, and Thorgy Thor.
How was that?
It is Thorgy Thor, right?
Thorgy Thor, yes.
Thank God, because I keep saying Thorgy Thor, and every now and then I'm like, am I doing her a disservice? Because I want to be clear, and I'm going to say some honest, uncool stuff. I've always sort of treated Thorgy the way these queens treat Nina and Angeria. I always felt like Thorgy had a really hard time being happy for incredible people when she's also incredible, and it broke my heart, and it made her hard to like. And I'm such a big Thorgy fan for the rest of my life after this event. What a showman. What, like, a legitimate, could have been famous for being a brilliant conductor showman. Literally.
There is a very specific compliment that I like to pay people, and I would love to see Thorgy work with the Muppets.
Yeah.
She would be
Thorgy and the Muppets.
amazing after this. It
goes all the way back to that Tim Curry treats the Muppets as though he is a Muppet, and Michael Caine treats the Muppets as though they are fellow actors.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Thorgy is one of those people who behaves like she is also a Muppet.
Yes.
And a great violinist.
Oh my God. So I want to say this show, like, from the minute that Sapphira first appeared in her Meet the Queens, literally 3 of the people on this panel were like, so is she your favorite of all time now? Janet Jackson singing opera? And obviously, yes. And Monet is literally one of the 2 queens that JoJo got me to watch the show through. It was Monet and Trixie, because I was already a big fan of world famous ukulele player Trixie Mattel. And I'm going to keep saying it that way because I was. But to see Sapphira, Monet, and Thorgy do the stuff that I've spent my life in service of, that Tori got a degree in, that Kevo, Jonah, and TK work so hard to explore and play and make their own art and celebrate. Like, this was everything to me, to get to see drag queens do opera outdoors in New York City with the skyline that I love as the backdrop. I feel privileged, I feel entitled, and I feel like I saw a queer ensemble do Copeland, conducted by a drag queen. Well, I'm so lucky.
The whole point is that Drag Race was supposed to introduce us to drag queens so that we could branch out into all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And we can't be lazy, because Drag Race will always be close and be available to have us seeing these boys dressed as girls being silly and giving us a little comedy and tea and drama and silliness. But we so often see that even the ones who show up to the show ready to serve us silly television drama also have talents that go so far beyond that. And it is the constant thing of being like, no, watch it and get into it and smile and giggle and be these guys right here. Be these dudes right here. Because if you do this, if you are these guys and go to the show then it transcends. Then you always go to it's just beyond Drag Race forever for now. You see them do their performance and everybody just goes beyond. And then you can never go back to like Gia Gunn being cunty. I always go back to Gia because Gia is the most TV girl. Gia is the most TV girl of all time. And by TV, you can take that TV.
She is the boom boom gun.
I want to ask a specific question.
Yeah.
There was a moment where Monet performed her new single, and the entire audience began swaying their cell phones as lighters.
Yeah.
And she said, y'all, that's so cool. Keep doing that. And then a moment later, she was like, guys, I'm going to cry. And Monet, as a classically trained opera singer who clearly worked with a vocal coach for 6 months leading up to this, great job, doll, was so ready to switch between speaking register and singing register to the point where she understood how to do the modulation of volume to center around the stationary microphone. You have
What's
no
that
idea.
question?
It was one of those perfect moments. But how did you feel when she literally cried in like gratitude for the crowd just being there for her?
I had gratitude. Appreciation.
Were you rooting for her?
I was rooting for you. Tori, you get that one.
I do. I understood that reference.
It was everything to see somebody who, a performer who I adore completely. Like Monet is a queen that can't really do any wrong in my eyes. Monet can literally, I read the phone book and I'd be like, oh, what's the next number?
Oh, so you were fine with that live performance in All Stars?
Yes.
Oh,
Which one? Wait, which one?
The first one.
Girl, soak one up. No, it was to see somebody that you revere and that you love and who is such a talented performer, even it was a moment of like, okay, not that I didn't see her this way before, but it's like, oh, this is a person who loves what they do, and seeing them still get emotional for doing it, because Monet's been a drag queen for a while, and being able to perform like this for a while now, and regardless of all of that, it's really, I don't know, something special that got to happen. It made me happy.
And
Tori Menrick.
Oh no, Tori, do you see the book?
24 Italian songs and arias.
Oh, just the Schrimmer's library.
I didn't know if this came across your experiences as a stage manager in theater. This is something we had to do a lot in choirs.
Yep.
Did this immediately respond to everybody?
Well, what I do want to say is that this and Jonah, what was the other thing I made the comment about?
Hold on one second. Can I just say, the gorgeous bearded queen you see on stage is Pretty LeMay.
Pretty LeMay,
who I believe just recently started their drag journey, has been an operatic singer. The resume is resumeing.
I was gonna say she's somebody who has the resume has shown up.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible.
She rewrote this whole Italian song in Italian to be about how women are queens instead of the classic. Where is it from? Carmen. It's one of those. La, 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 la. Like she rewrote it, and so like it was really cute.
The thing that I had a problem with for this, and I feel like, Jonah, I made the example in front of you, and hopefully you remember as I say it. This was maybe musical theater opera class 101. Some of the stuff to teach us about was stuff that, like, if you've ever been to Lincoln Center, you know it.
This is where we get into that thing of, like, we don't talk about this a lot because it would be impolite and it would be weird, but you're a professional.
Hi.
You are high on your game, and if given the opportunity, it's not as though you're like, oh, I'm 22 and like I just discovered musical theater out of college, and if I had the opportunity, I would do it this way. You are almost 40.
Me and Rob.
You have a lot of experience. And I only mention that because sometimes you say stuff very humble from this perspective of like, oh, I'm just Nico, whatever. but like actually you're pretty experienced. You are pretty well lived. You pretty much know. This isn't like, oh, I could try it and throw something out there. This is actually like, I am an adult. I actually do know. And this is what I think would be wise. And I only mention that because we, in this sphere, are constantly trapped between people who are like, I'm just showing up. I'm just, I'm young and just trying this for the first time. I'm old and just trying this for the first time. Also, I'm young, but I still have years of experience. I'm old and I have years of experience. We're all just all over the place. And I just only want to point it out only because sometimes you are very humble with your experience of what you know. And I want to be the person that can say, like, you don't have to be 100% humble. Because you do know some things.
The compliment that is really is immeasurable, and I really do thank you for that. I do actually have like 2 notes for this, and and right, those are the 2 notes. Both beautiful. There was a section where they paid tribute to the women who inspired them and came before them, and I wish they had the opportunity to elevate this section, do songs by these women, pay a bigger tribute, because this was one of the most enchanting things I've ever seen. Was like, what if, artists could always do what, Chappelle Roan does better than literally anyone. When she does a cover of an artist, she's always like, and I just hope they like it. And so like Lady Gaga hops on X and is like, this is brilliant and love yourself. And like, these women should have felt entitled to take a little more time for them and do that. The other thing that I would have loved is, and I don't want to be like copy another queen, but one of the best things
you got it.
ever was the end of the Trixie Dance Party. The like 20 minutes of queens just doing flips. They brought out their drag families, and so they had an additional 6 queens come out that represented their beautiful drag families, and it was so incredible to get to share this with them and them showing off their family. It was so cool. I'm sorry, it was 4 queens. Something I only wish was that those girls got to do a little bit more than Candy Muse did in the season 13 finale. I love that you know exactly what I'm referring to by scene.
The other point that you were bringing up before, you made a comment while we were there that I think rings true. This was at the Lincoln Center, and it was a free event, first come, first serve, as well as if you showed up early enough, there were seats available for general admission. And
to be clear, this group fought for their seats.
Oh, we waited
multiple
20 minutes.
Multiple group members fought for these seats.
20 minutes.
They were free, but they were not free of our time.
No, because the website crashed. But to Nico, to one of the points that Nico was alluding to earlier, this was very much like, if you're a fan of Drag Race and you're a fan of these queens, they wanted to let you into the world of classical music and give you that little history 101. But there was, I think, maybe a little more than anticipated Lincoln Center regulars who are fans of drag that wanted to go and experience this. And so for them, they probably knew everything. They knew all of that, as Nico was pointing out. That was stuff that a little bit more that is common knowledge if you are very more versed and familiar and enmeshed in that scene. But for someone like me, I don't know nothing. I did take my actual favorite class in high school, which be 27 years old and still talking about high school, was my music class, where
it must be so tough to be 10 years out of high school when the rest of us are 15 years out of college.
Look at Kevo waving those fingers around. What do you got?
So I want to build on Jonah's point, which is building on Nico's point, which is about how this felt like there was an element of education to this. It felt like it was a bit on both sides, that it was introducing people into the world of opera as well as into the world of drag. Nico, we have a long-standing tradition of going into the city and watching pilots together, don't we? To me, it felt like
love it.
this program was built in such a way that it can be represented in a lot of different directions. It was bawdy, but it wasn't too sexual. So if they really wanted to grade it down, it could be something that is general audience, or if they wanted to make it bawdier, it could be something that is exclusive. I feel like this was something that could be, do we lean into teaching more opera? Do we lean into teaching more drag? Do we lean into this? Do we lean into that? And as a presentation of all of their different talents and what they can present, I think this was a really fun and interesting pilot for these performers and what they can potentially do. You know, there's so much going on. It's Pride Month, and there's all these debates about drag. Is it acceptable? Blah, blah, blah. The fact is, it's the same as it is for comedy. Some performances are acceptable for some audiences and some are not. And these are performers that have a multitude of talents, and it really showcased, you know, they can be educators, they can be body drag performers. There's so many different ways that you can present a drag performance. And I think this being one that touched a little bit on all as something that was a performance at Lincoln Center to be representative of these queens. And as they acknowledge themselves of Drag Race in a lot of ways, it really did a lot. And the only actual complaint is these poor women suffered from some absolutely terrible audio issues.
Yeah, that's going to happen outside.
No, and I really
But hold on, though. Did any of that really bother you guys?
No.
Yes.
So I really
Be
hope
real.
it didn't bother anyone. It bothered me a little bit. It more bothered me that it is going to bother other people. It didn't bother me as much that it'll bother other people. One person semi-heckled, turn your mic up, didn't like that. That was Lincoln Center. So I felt bad for them, but I was in for the ride and I thought they were amazing. And I think they did a great job of rolling with it. You know, we are live performers as well, so we know what it's like. And I think they rolled with the punches very well.
Yeah.
Well, and that's always, you know, that's always my question is like, casually, realistically, this group that we are, did they have it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And then seven
some.
more. Yeah.
And I will say,
and that legitimately matters because we sit here sometimes with like, we're barely clinging on to internet
Why do we get on
activity
camera today?
issues, microphone issues. Like, you're
didn't
lucky
I get
that-
kicked out?
Tori, let's make
Yes.
up for that time you lost. Tori, where are you standing on this?
I think it's so fantastic. And one of the great things is I used to work for an organization that represented orchestras and tried to drag them into the current and
drag them to dinner.
Yeah, which was a lovely experience after last week's show. Thank you for everyone who warned me. I still watched it.
You're welcome.
Of course, we did too.
Watch
We,
Trixie Mattel. It's so good.
I'm going to. But for this, what I'm saying is that orchestras are constantly looking for ways to drag themselves into getting new audiences, much like Broadway does, but worse because nobody likes orchestras. They do a lot of pop orchestras now. They do orchestrations while the movie's playing of major movies, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Godfather, Indiana Jones, all of those. And this is another way for these to be. Now, I will say there are a lot of orchestras that are large enough to be able to support this kind of thing that are in states that would be unhappy with them for doing it. But I still think that they could probably put together a tour of this if they really wanted to.
Same.
And it would,
exactly.
the orchestras would be more than happy to drag in new people because every orchestra in this country that's large enough has things where they're like, it's the 30 for under 30s. Come see a show tonight for $30 and you get a party afterwards if you're under
How
30.
very roundabout.
Yeah.
Yes. So
And I feel like as we're moving to sign-offs, that's like kind of exactly where I'm at because I'm in Portland, Maine. This city that a lot of people are kind of trying to pass off as the 6th borough of Manhattan because we have so many people showing up here
Wait,
on
he's in
the weekend.
Hoboken?
No, I mean like
No,
it
no.
really is a thing. It is a branding thing that people have tried to pull off because just so many, and I have been one of these people way back in the day who just every Friday hops on the plane to Portland and spends my weekend from Manhattan in Portland. And we are now starting to get the kind of, this weekend, I missed a lot of it because we were having our own personal drag party at the house, but we had Heidi-N-Closet at the Portland Pride drag parade. I'm about to go put some clothes on because I'm literally wearing an apron right now. And go see Plain Jane at the State Theater, and then we're going to go see Sasha Colby tomorrow. We're having all kinds of Pride fun, and it is all very... we are lucky that we have the support of so many people in New York and in the tri-state area who want to come up here and experience our cute little town. There's some cool stuff going on in Ogunquit later. I'm about to hopefully surprise the guys with a couple things that are happening in Ogunquit.
They have a great playhouse.
Yes, we have a great playhouse, and I want to take the guys to see a show there. We'll talk about that later, but, we're having all kinds of fun, and I love being able to share that a little bit with our audience and with this family that I've got, and I feel very lucky. So I just want to say thank you, everybody, for showing up to that. I am going to hopefully go see Plain Jane in a little bit, and then I definitely have my tickets already to go see Sasha Colby tomorrow at Peaks Island. I'm very excited. It is my Sasha Colby meet and greet. My partner and I will be going in me, Cyclops, them, Marvel Girl cosplay. We've got a couple's look. We're going to have all kinds of fun. We're going to go to the island. We're going to see Sasha Colby perform. We're going to have a great time. I truly cannot wait to share it with all of you. Photos, video, descriptions, and I love you all so much for hanging with me. I think the bunch of us are going to go see Bob the Drag Queen later this year. We're going to go see the Drag Queen Christmas. I cannot wait. We do not stop.
Well, until then, where can everybody find you since you're already on a roll?
Find me, it's always TK Elemental, just on any social media platform. Type those words in. I'll be there.
Tori, you are one of the team now. I mean, what can we do? We could never survive without you. Tori, where can we find you?
You can find me freaking out about how amazing Angeria was in that lip sync over on
Perfect.
At SM Tori with an I.
She knew the rap.
She crushed it. I
knew
literally
Plastique was just like, I'm not even gonna bother with that rap.
She finished that and I just went, this is why she is my second choice to win outside of the obvious second choice, which is Roxxxy.
Yes.
But
My
I
number
love
one is
Angeria.
Monet, so.
Good for you.
Thank you. I'm Delulu.
And not as delusional as Angeria, who just won. Wait. Jonah or Kevo? Who's next?
Jonah, then Kevo, then Nico.
Well, I guess we're not sipping me like Roxxxy got cut for the second time this season,
What
which
a
is
shame.
wild, crazy. This one felt kind of personal.
Crazy.
It is 100%.
Well,
Yes.
if we want to get personal with you, where can we find you?
We're gonna get personal with me. You can find me any place at Peak Donuts, PEAK. Kevo.
My little Muppets. You can find me at Kevo O'Reilly. That's KevoReally. You can find more of the awesome music you've been listening to in the background at Nico Action SoundCloud or Nico Action Music over on YouTube. You can also check out the podcast feeds that we've been filling out. The X is for podcast, new content every Monday and Thursday.
But
Nico,
Kevo, what if we're watching Doctor Who every Friday evening? What will we do?
Also, we have a lot of awesome Doctor Who content coming and going and happening for this season. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. I've been doing some awesome live watches, and we're obviously going to respond to this season. It's a good time, and I'm super stoked.
Well, we cannot wait to have you bring us all the Doctor Who-ness in its newness. As for me and my Nico-ness, you guys can. No. I mean, I guess maybe you guys can check that out at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION. As for the music, that's NICOACTIONMUSIC. As for everything else, that's X is for show. It's spelled and sounds exactly as it is. 3 things you guys can do for us: like, comment, subscribe. 3 things you guys can do for you. Number 1, stay safe, spooky world. Number 2, be brave because you're amazing. Number 3, evolve daily because yesterday awesome, today amazing, tomorrow even better. Bye.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride!
You're gay.